No species will ever forget the moment. Humanity's patience. Finally broke Admiral Diane Carter stood at the viewport of the USS Resilience watching the stars. Her gray uniform fit perfectly on her tall frame. Her short brown hair was neatly combed, and her blue eyes narrowed as she watched a small shuttle leave the massive ship. This was the 54th time humans had asked to join the Galactic Council. 53 times before, they had been told no. The shuttle carried 5 people. They would speak for all humans. They would ask, once again, for humans to be treated as equals. Admiral Carter knew what would happen. She had seen it all before. "Do you think they'll say yes this time?" asked Lieutenant Sam Fisher. He was young, only 30. His dark skin contrasted with the white walls of the bridge. He still had hope. Carter envied that. "No," she said simply. She did not need to explain more. Everyone on the bridge knew the truth. The older alien species did not want humans as equals. They wanted humans to stay weak and obey. The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. The main members were the Valhari, tall blue aliens with 4 arms, the Shintal, who looked like walking crystals, and the Erudian Collective, beings of gas who lived in special suits. They had ruled space for a long time. They had rules and ways of doing things. Humans who had only reached space a few hundred years ago were seen as new, too different, too dangerous. "They say we're too aggressive," said Captain Eric Daniels, coming to stand beside Carter. He was her second in command, a solid man with kind eyes that had seen too much war. "But what they really mean is that we learned too fast. We built ships, as good as theirs in 100 years. It took the Valhari 1,000 years to do the same." Carter nodded. It was true. Humans had a gift for taking ideas and making them better. When humans first met aliens, they had been far behind in technology. Now, human ships were among the best in the galaxy. Human weapons were feared. Human medicine saved lives across many worlds. And still the Council said no. "Message from Earth Command," called out Officer Patel from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the glowing screen. "They want us to be ready to escort the diplomatic team back. They expect another rejection." Carter was not surprised. "Tell them we're ready, and tell the engine room to prepare for a quick departure if needed. Some council members might not be happy to see us here." The truth was, the Resilience was not supposed to be here at all. Military ships were not allowed near the council station without special permission. But after the last rejection, Earth had decided to send their best ship anyway. A reminder that humans were not weak. "Look at them," Daniel said, pointing to the massive station that housed the council. It was beautiful, a giant wheel of silver and gold against the blackness of space. "They've been arguing about the same problems for centuries while we've solved our biggest issues in decades. They hate that about us." Carter remembered the history lessons, how humans had nearly destroyed themselves with war and climate disaster, how they had come back from the edge united and reached for the stars. When they met aliens, humans had been eager to learn and share. They thought they would be welcomed. They were wrong. "Admiral, I'm picking up ship movements," called Lieutenant Rivera from the sensor station. Her voice was tight with worry. 3 Valhari cruisers changing position. They're moving to surround the diplomatic shuttle." Carter felt her body tense. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a tactical display. The small human shuttle was a green dot. The 3 much larger Valhari ships were red dots, moving to create a triangle around the shuttle. "That's not standard escort formation," Daniels said, his voice low. "That's an interception pattern." Carter made her decision instantly. "Shields up, power to engines. Move us between those cruisers and our shuttle." The bridge erupted into activity. Warning lights flashed as the massive human warship came to life. "Valhari cruisers are powering weapons," Rivera shouted. "Hold position," Carter ordered. "Do not power our weapons. Not yet." The Resilience moved with surprising speed for its size. Within moments, it had placed itself directly in the path of the Valhari ships. A message appeared on the main screen. A Valhari commander, his blue skin dark with anger, his 4 arms crossed in what humans had learned was a gesture of authority. Human. Vessel, you are violating council space. Move aside. The diplomatic shuttle is being detained for inspection. Carter stepped forward. This is Admiral Diane Carter of the USS Resilience. Our diplomatic team has all required permissions to approach the station. Your interception is against council rules. The Valhari commander's upper arms uncrossed, a sign of surprise. He had not expected to be challenged. We have received information that the humans are carrying prohibited technology. We must search them. It was a lie. Carter knew it. The Valhari knew it. But it was how the game was played. Create a problem, blame humans, make them look bad before the council. Our shuttle will proceed to the station, Carter said, her voice cold. If you have concerns, you may file them with the council during the hearing. The Valhari's eyes narrowed. You dare to give me orders? Perhaps humans need another lesson in respect. The threat hung in the air. Carter felt her hands form fists. She forced them to relax. Officer Patel, open a channel to all council members, she said quietly. Send them live feed of this conversation and the tactical situation. Patel worked quickly. Channel open, Admiral. All members are receiving. Carter smiled slightly. This was new. The Valhari were used to doing these things in secret. Now, all 27 council species could see what was happening. Commander, Carter said, I believe the council is watching us now. Would you like to repeat your threat? The Valhari's face changed. Anger became caution. This is a misunderstanding. We were simply ensuring security. Of course, Carter replied. Then you won't mind if our shuttle continues to the station while you ensure security from a distance? After a moment of silence, the Valhari ships moved away. The path to the station was clear. Well played, Admiral, Daniel said quietly. Carter didn't smile. This is just one small victory. They'll make us pay for it somehow. As if her words were prophecy, Officer Patel looked up from her station. Admiral, message from the colony on Caldine 4. They're reporting a Valhari cruiser in orbit. The Valhari are claiming the colony is illegal and must be evacuated. Carter closed her eyes briefly. Caldine 4 was a small research outpost. 300 people, studying rare crystals, all perfectly legal, all properly registered. Send a bird. Message to Earth Command, she said. Tell them we need to go to Caldine 4 immediately after the diplomatic meeting. And if the diplomacy fails again? Daniels asked. Carter looked out at the stars, at the beautiful council station, at the Valhari, ships now watching from a distance. Then we need to be ready, she said, because humanity's patience isn't endless, and I think that day is coming soon. The USS Resilience hung in space, a silver blade against the darkness. Inside, humans waited, hoped, and prepared. For peace, if possible. For something else, if necessary. The stars watched in silence, uncaring about the small beings and their conflicts. But soon, very soon, those stars would bear witness to a moment that would change the galaxy forever. No species will ever forget the moment. Humanity's patience finally broke. Part 2 Dr. Alan Rodriguez looked out the window of his small office on Caldine 4. The sky was a strange purple color. After 2 years on this planet, he still wasn't used to it. His eyes moved up from the sky to the Valhari cruiser that hung in orbit like a silent threat. It had been there for 3 days now. Alan ran a hand through his graying hair and sighed. He was the leader of the research team on Caldine 4. 300 people lived here. Scientists, engineers, security staff, and some families. They studied the special crystals that grew only on this world. The crystals could change how computers worked. They could make faster ships, better medicine machines, and new ways to talk across space. All of their work was legal. They had all the right papers. They had followed all the rules. But the Valhari ship was still there. The door to his office slid open. Michelle Rivera walked in, a tablet in her hand. She was in charge of talking to ships and other worlds. Her dark eyes were worried. They sent another message, she said, giving the tablet to Alan. They say we have 48 hours to leave. They say we're breaking the rules about what we can study here. Alan read the message and felt his stomach tighten. That's not true. We checked everything 3 times before we even came here. The crystals aren't on any list of things we can't study. Michelle nodded. I know, but something has changed. One of our friends on the trading ship told me that a Valhari named Zexakal just got mining rights in this area. He's also on the council. Alan understood then. It wasn't about rules. It was about money. The Valhari wanted the crystals for themselves. Have you told Earth? He asked. Yes, they say they're working on it. They said to wait for Admiral Carter. The USS Resilience is coming. Alan felt a small bit of hope. Admiral Carter was known for protecting human interests. Her ship was the strongest in the human fleet. When will they get here? Michelle looked down. 3 days, if they push the engines hard. 3 days. But the Valhari had given them only 2 days to leave. Alan stood up and walked to the window again. Outside, in the small park they had built, he could see his daughter Lily playing with other children. She was 7 years old and had lived on Caldine 4 for most of her life. This was her home. 12 families had babies who were born here. Tell everyone to pack only what they need, he said quietly. If we have to leave, we'll leave. Better to lose our work than our lives. Michelle put a hand on his shoulder. We could try to talk to them. Maybe they'll give us more time. Maybe, Alan said. But he didn't believe it. The Valhari weren't known for changing their minds. That night, Alan couldn't sleep. He went over the colony's emergency plans. They had 3 small ships that could take everyone if they had to run. But leaving meant giving up years of work. It meant letting the Valhari win again. His computer beeped. A message from Earth. Comply with evacuation order. Do not resist. Diplomatic channels engaged. Alan felt a mix of anger and relief. At least, they would be safe. He would start the evacuation in the morning. But morning brought a new problem. Valhari ships are landing. Security Chief Ben Walsh's voice came through the speaker in Alan's bedroom. They're coming down now. They're not waiting for the 48 hours. Alan jumped out of bed and pulled on his clothes. Where are they landing? Near the main lab. At least 30 soldiers from what we can see. Alan's heart raced. Don't fight them. Tell everyone to stay calm. I'm coming. He ran through the hallways of the small colony. Other people were running too, some still in sleep clothes. Faces showed fear and confusion. He reached the main door just as it opened. 6 Valhari soldiers walked in. They were tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. Each soldier carried a weapon. Behind them came a Valhari in expensive clothes. This was no soldier. He looked around with cold eyes that showed he thought humans were less than him. I am Zexakal, he said, his voice translated by a small machine on his belt. This colony is now under Valhari control. You have violated research limits and must leave immediately. Alan stepped forward. We have 48 hours according to your own message, and we've violated nothing. We have all proper permits. Zexakal made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your permits are cancelled. The council has given me full mining rights to this sector. You will leave now, or you will be removed. The council can't just cancel our permits without a hearing, Alan said, trying to stay calm. And we have a treaty with the Valhari government that... Treaties change, Zexakal cut him off. The council has decided. Now move aside. My workers need this building. From behind Alan, Michelle spoke up. We have families here, children. We need time to safely pack and... Zexakal made an angry motion with his upper arms. Humans always talk too much. Always making excuses. He turned to his soldiers. Clear this building. Put the humans on their ships. The soldiers moved forward. One pushed Alan aside roughly. Another grabbed Michelle's arm when she tried to help Alan up. Please, Alan said, rising to his feet. Just give us the day to organize. We'll go peacefully. But Zexakal wasn't listening anymore. He walked past Alan, looking at the lab equipment with greedy eyes. A scream came from down the hall, then another. The children, Michelle whispered in horror. Alan ran toward the sound, but a soldier grabbed him. He fought to get free. "Leave the children alone," he shouted. More soldiers came in. More screams followed. Doors were broken down. People were dragged from rooms. "Stop this," Alan yelled at Zexcal. "You can have the planet. Just let us leave. Safely." Zexcal looked at him with cold eyes. The council was right about humans. Too emotional. Too dangerous. A loud sound came from outside. A small human ship was trying to take off. A beam of light shot from the Valhari cruiser in orbit. The ship exploded. "No one leaves until I have what I want," Zexcal said calmly. Alan felt something break inside him. "And what do you want?" "The crystal research. All of it. And then you can go." A soldier came up to Zexcal and spoke quickly in their language. Zexcal's eyes widened. "What do you mean a human warship is coming? How did they know?" He turned to Alan with fury in his eyes. "You called for help. The USS Resilience is coming to protect our legal colony," Alan said, standing straight. "Admiral Carter doesn't like bullies." Zexcal was quiet for a moment. Then he gave an order in his language. The soldiers raised their weapons. "If I can't have the research, no one will," Zexcal said. "And there will be no witnesses to what happened here." Alan realized then that they were all going to die. "Please," he said, "not the children." Zexcal didn't answer. He walked out, leaving his soldiers behind. The first shots rang out. People fell. People ran. People screamed. Alan's last thought was of Lily. He hoped she could hide. He hoped the Yasa Resilience would come in time to save her. But the Resilience was still 2 days away, pushing its engines to the limit. And on Caldine 4, the patience of one Valhari had already broken. What no one knew then was how this moment would change the galaxy. Because when humans learned what happened on Caldine 4, their legendary patience would finally break too. No species will ever forget the moment humanity's patience finally broke. Part 3. The USS Resilience arrived at Caldine 4 too late. Admiral Diane Carter stood in the ruins of the research colony, her face like stone. Around her, soldiers moved, carefully through broken buildings. They were looking for survivors. They had found only bodies. 47 dead, Admiral, Captain Daniels said quietly. His voice shook slightly. 19 of them were children. Carter closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were hard and cold. And the Valhari? Their ship is gone. We've tracked their jump path. They went straight to Valhari Prime. Carter nodded. Of course they did. They're hiding behind their government. A young soldier approached, holding something small in his hands. Admiral, we found this. It's a recording device. It was under a desk in the main lab. Carter took the small black box. Get it to the tech team. I want to know what's on it in an hour. The recording was clear. It showed everything. Dr. Rodriguez trying to talk to the Valhari, the soldiers pushing people, Zexcal giving the order to kill, the screams, the shots, everything. Carter watched it 3 times. Each time her anger grew colder, harder. Send this to Earth, she ordered. All of it. Add our sensor logs showing the Valhari ship destroying the colony's escape vessel. Make sure President Warren sees it personally. What do we do now, Admiral? Daniels asked. Carter looked at the bodies being prepared for the journey home. Each was wrapped in a Earth flag. Each would return to a family who would want answers, who would want justice. Now we wait for Earth to decide, she said. But be ready. I don't think we'll be waiting long. The memorial service was held in Washington, D.C. All 47 victims were there, their bodies in closed caskets with flags draped over them. Behind them, large screens showed their faces. Living faces, smiling faces, now gone forever. President Julia Warren walked to the stage slowly. She was a tall woman with dark skin and gray hair. Her face looked tired, as if she hadn't slept in days. She probably hadn't. The service was being broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy. On Earth, on Mars, on the moons of Jupiter, on every colony. Billions of humans watched as their president stood before the dead. For 104 years, she began, humanity has played by rules we did not create. We have asked nicely. We have followed the laws. We have helped when needed. We have given when asked. And we have died when the powerful decided we should. She turned and looked at the row of alien ambassadors who sat to the side. The Valhari ambassador wasn't there. He had left Earth the day after the news about Caldine 4 broke. But others were there, watching nervously. The Galactic Council has sent us a message, President Warren continued. They are deeply concerned about what happened. They will investigate fully. This may take years to complete. Her voice grew harder. Meanwhile, the Valhari have already claimed the crystal deposits on Caldine 4. The murderer, Zexcal, has been given official protection by his government. She paused, looking out at the crowd and the cameras. Humanity's patience has been remarkable. Even now, many of us still believe in working together and finding peaceful solutions. But I must be clear, the death of our children has drawn a line. And that line has been crossed. From the crowd, a man stood up. It was Governor Frank Nelson from Mars Colony. His face was red with anger. Madam President, he called out, the colonial governments have voted. We ask you to use Article 7. A sound like a wave went through the crowd. Article 7 of the Human Colonial Charter had never been used before. It would put all human military forces under one command. It would change the economy to prepare for war. President Warren looked at the governor, then at the caskets, then at the faces on the screens behind her. So be it, she said softly. May the stars witness that we tried peace first. As the words left her mouth, screens all around the world and in colonies across space changed. The memorial service was replaced by a different image, a document with the Earth seal at the top. My fellow humans, President Warren continued, as of this moment, I am invoking Article 7 of the Colonial Charter. All military forces are now under central command. All shipyards are now working under government direction. All research facilities are now focused on defense. The alien ambassadors were standing now, some talking urgently into communication devices. To our friends among the stars, the president said, looking directly at them, we have no quarrel with those who have treated us fairly. But to those who have killed our children, who have stolen our work, who have lied to us and about us for a century, we say this: humanity's patience is at an end. The ambassadors began to leave quickly. Guards moved to let them pass. Effective immediately, President Warren continued, all diplomatic ties with the Valhari Imperium are severed. All Valhari citizens have 24 hours to leave human space. All human citizens in Valhari space are ordered to return home immediately. She paused, her eyes moving to the image of a small girl on the screen. Lily Rodriguez, 7 years old, dead, on Caldine 4 with her father. We did not want this. We tried for more than a century to be part of a peaceful galaxy. But peace requires justice. Peace requires respect. We have received neither. Captain Daniels watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Resilience. Around him, the crew was silent. When the president finished speaking, he turned to Admiral Carter, who stood beside him. Orders, Admiral? Carter's face was calm, but her eyes burned with a cold fire. Set course for Earth, she said. We're going to be part of what comes next. And, what is that, Admiral? A young officer asked. Carter looked at the stars through the viewport. The moment when the galaxy learns why they were right to fear us, she said. Not because we are violent by nature, but because when pushed too far, our capacity for action is unlike anything they have ever seen. Across human space, ships began to move. Soldiers prepared. Scientists worked. The gears of war, quiet for so long, began to turn. On the Galactic Council station, the emergency session was in chaos. The Valhari representative was shouting that humans had always been dangerous, that they had always been a threat that needed to be controlled. The Shintal representative spoke last, her crystal body reflecting the light in the chamber. For a century, she said, the humans asked to join us as equals. For a century, we refused them. Now they no longer ask. I fear we have created exactly what we claimed to prevent, a human race united against us. In the coldness of space, the human fleet gathered. The moment that no species would ever forget was coming. The moment when humanity's patience finally, completely broke. No species will ever forget the moment. Humanity's patience finally broke. Part 4 General Kevin Barnes had never thought he would lead the largest fleet in human history. 2,000 ships gathered around the gas giant Helios 9. The planet's storms hid them from normal sensors. Here they could prepare without being seen. Kevin stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Terra's Fury. He was a tall man with dark skin and a shaved head. Scars on his face showed his years of service. He had fought pirates and raiders. He had protected colonies. But this was different. This was war. "All ships report ready, General," said Colonel Linda Patterson. She was his second in command, a woman with red hair and green eyes that missed nothing. "Task Forces Avalanche, Bastion, and Crucible await your orders." Kevin nodded. "Open fleet-wide communications." Linda pressed some buttons on her console. "You're connected to all ships, sir." Kevin took a deep breath. What he would say next would be remembered in history books. "Soldiers of humanity," he began. "Today we remind the galaxy why they feared us enough to keep us out. Not because we are violent by nature, but because when pushed, we act with more force and unity than any other species." On 2,000 ships, humans listened. Captains, pilots, engineers, soldiers, all waited for the orders that would start a war. For over a century, we tried to join the galactic community as friends. We were rejected. We were treated as lesser beings. We were killed when it suited the powerful. The deaths on Caldine 4 were not an accident. They were not a misunderstanding. They were murder. Kevin looked at the tactical display. It showed their targets. 37 key Valhari locations. Not cities, not civilian areas. Military bases, shipyards, the homes of military leaders. The places where the Valhari made their weapons and planned their actions. "We will not kill innocent civilians. We are not like them. We will strike hard and fast at the military power of the Valhari. We will show them that their actions have consequences. We will show the galaxy that humanity will no longer be pushed aside." His console beeped. A message appeared. The final authorization from President Warren had arrived. It was time. "All task forces," Kevin said, his voice firm and clear. "Commence Operation Decisive Memory for Caldine." Throughout the fleet, 2,000 captains repeated those words. For Caldine. As the human armada entered quantum space, they disappeared from normal space, moving faster than light in a way that even the oldest species in the galaxy still didn't fully understand. Humans had taken this technology and improved it, as they did with everything. The Valhari home system had the best defenses in the galaxy, or so they thought. The first sign of trouble was when their communication network went silent. Then their sensor grid failed. Then, appearing like ghosts from nowhere, human ships emerged from quantum space, not in the usual jump points where defenses were strongest, but everywhere at once, inside the defensive line. On the Valhari homeworld, Admiral Zexthor watched in horror as his screens showed human ships appearing right next to their most critical facilities. Zexthor was the brother of Zexcal, the one who had ordered the killings on Caldine 4. He had helped his brother cover up the crime. "How did they get past our defenses?" he shouted at his officers. "How did they jump to those locations?" "No," one answered, "no one knew. The quantum fold drive was humanity's secret weapon. It let them jump to any point in space, not just the standard jump points that other species used. The Valhari had thought their defenses were perfect. They were wrong." Zexthor ran to the communication station. "Order all ships to protect the homeworld. Call for help from the Council." But the communication officer shook his head. "All channels are being blocked. We cannot send messages. We cannot call for help." Zexthor felt fear for the first time in his long life. "Then we fight. Launch all fighters. Power all weapons." The Valhari fleet moved to defend their world. Their ships were powerful. Their weapons were strong, but they were scattered, confused, without communication. and the humans knew exactly where to strike. On the Terra's Fury, General Barnes watched as the plan unfolded. Task Force Avalanche, begin your attack on the shipyards. Task Force Bastion, target their command centers. Task Force Crucible, disable their planetary defenses. The human ships moved with perfect coordination. They had trained for this, they had planned for this. Each ship knew its target, its role, its place in the battle. The Valhari fought back hard. Their ships fired powerful weapons. They launched swarms of fighters. But without their central command, without the ability to coordinate, they were fighting, blind. "Sir, the Valhari flagship is changing course," Colonel Patterson reported. "It's headed for the jump point to the Council Core worlds." Kevin nodded. "Let them go. We want witnesses." The Valhari flagship escaped. It was the only major ship that did. Within 6 hours, the once mighty Valhari fleet was in ruins. Their military bases were destroyed. Their shipyards were burning. Their weapon factories were gone, and not a single civilian target had been hit. Not one city. Not one residential area. The humans had been precise in their anger. Kevin received reports from across the Valhari system. "All primary targets neutralized, General. Task Force Avalanche reports mission complete. Task Force Bastion has secured all command centers. Task Force Crucible has disabled all planetary defense systems." "Casualties?" Kevin asked. "Minimal on our side, sir. 17 ships lost. Several hundred wounded. The Valhari military losses are extensive." Kevin nodded slowly. "Begin Phase 2. I want Zexcal and the Valhari High Command found and captured. They will stand trial for Caldine." Ground forces landed on the Valhari homeworld. They moved quickly to the compounds of the military leadership. There was some resistance, but not much. The Valhari had never thought they would need to defend their homeworld. They had been wrong about many things. Zexcal was found hiding in a secret bunker. When human soldiers broke down the door, he raised his 4 arms in surrender. "I am a diplomat," he shouted. "I have immunity." The human captain looked at him coldly. "Not anymore. You're a war criminal, and you're going to face justice." Within 12 hours of the first attack, the human forces had achieved all their objectives. The Valhari military was broken. Their leaders were captured. Their ability to make war was gone. And still, not a single civilian had been harmed. Not a single city had been bombed. Not a single planet had been occupied. General Barnes opened a channel to all human ships. "Operation Decisive Memory is complete. All forces prepare to return to human space." As quickly as they had come, the human fleet disappeared again into quantum space. They left behind a broken empire and a message that the galaxy would never forget. Humanity's patience had limits. And when those limits were crossed, their response was swift, overwhelming, and precise. In the Council Core worlds, the news spread quickly. Humanity had broken the Valhari in less than a day. They had done what no species had thought possible. And they had done it without the mass destruction that everyone had feared. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be feared because they were violent. They were to be feared because when they finally acted, they did so with a precision and force that no one could stop. No species will ever forget the moment humanity's patience finally broke. Part 5 Ambassador Nicole Watson walked alone into the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. Her footsteps echoed in the huge room. 3 weeks had passed since Operation Decisive Memory. 3 weeks that had changed everything in the galaxy. Nicole was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and brown skin. She wore a simple black uniform with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. The Valhari fleet was destroyed. Their military leaders were in prison, waiting for trial for the murders on Caldine. Fear and humanity had shown they had technology that no one had expected. The quantum fold drive, the shield technology that could not be broken, the precision weapons that hit only military targets. All had shocked the Council. Even more shocking was humanity's restraint. No civilian deaths. No destroyed cities. No occupied planets. Just quick, powerful strikes followed by immediate withdrawal once their goals were reached. The chamber was full. It could hold representatives from 500 species, and today it seemed all seats were taken. Word had spread quickly that the human ambassador would speak. Nicole reached the speaker's platform and looked out at the assembled aliens. The Shintal with their crystal bodies, the Erudians floating in their gas containers, the insect-like, Kresh, dozens of other species all watching her with new respect and fear. "Distinguished representatives," she began, "I come before you not to threaten. I come not to boast. I come with an invitation." Whispers spread through the chamber. For over a century, humanity accepted being kept out of this council. We believed, perhaps foolishly, that if we were patient and peaceful, we would eventually be accepted as equals. She touched a button, and a hologram appeared. It showed the rebuilt research station on Caldine 4. A garden of native plants now grew where buildings had been destroyed. Small markers showed where each person had died. We were wrong. True change needs action. The tragedy at Caldine forced us to act, but what happens next is a choice we all make together. Nicole's voice remained calm, but every being in the chamber could feel the strength behind her words. Today, Earth invites any species that wishes to join the new Terran Cooperative. Our rules for joining are simple. Every member has an equal voice. All decisions are open and clear. All members defend each other. We will not rule over others. We will not conquer. But we will never again be pushed aside. She looked directly at the new Valhari representative. Not the proud old ambassador who had dismissed humans for years, but a younger, more open-minded diplomat sent to fix what relations they could. Humanity's patience broke, but our hope for a fair galaxy remains. The question for each of you is simple. Will you help us build it, or will you hold on to the old ways that just fell apart before your eyes? As Nicole stepped away from the platform, the Erudian representative floated forward, his gas container humming softly. "The Erudian Collective asks to join these cooperative talks," he announced, his translator making his voice sound metallic but clear. One by one, other representatives stood. The Kresh, the Tellarites, the Vega Union, all species that had been kept on the edges of galactic politics, just like humans. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Diane Carter watched with quiet satisfaction. She stood next to President Warren, who had come to see this historic moment in person. "I think they finally understand us," Carter said softly. Warren nodded, not because of our weapons, but because when pushed too far, humanity doesn't just fight. We change the game completely. A day later, Nicole sat in a meeting room with representatives from 27 species. They were the first to join the Yao Terran Cooperative. Many had, like humanity, been kept out of full council membership for centuries. The old council was built on the idea that some species are naturally better than others, Nicole explained. The Terran Cooperative is built on the idea that all intelligent species have value and deserve respect. The Kresh representative clicked his mandibles. "The old powers will not give up easily. They will try to break this alliance." Nicole smiled slightly. "They are welcome to try. But I think they have seen what happens when humanity's patience runs out. And now they will learn what happens when humanity works together with allies as equals." Plans were made. Treaties were signed. A new future began to take shape. On Caldine 4, a memorial service was held. The families of those who had died came to see the garden that had been planted. Each marker had a name, a picture, and a small light that would shine at night. Admiral Carter attended with President Warren. They stood in silence before the marker for Dr. Alan Rodriguez and his daughter Lily. "Was it worth it?" Carter asked quietly. "The cost was so high." Warren looked at the night sky where the first stars were becoming visible. "They didn't have a choice, but we did. And we chose to make sure their deaths would lead to something better for all of us. In space, ships from different species began to work together. Technology was shared, trade increased. The Terran Cooperative grew stronger each day, and the old powers of the galaxy watched with worry and wonder. The Valhari were rebuilding, but they would never again be the unchallenged power they once were. The other old council members were rethinking their positions. some even asking to join the cooperative. 6 months after Operation Decisive Memory, a new cooperative headquarters was opened. It was built in orbit around Earth, a giant wheel of silver and gold against the blackness of space. But unlike the old council station, this one had sections built in the styles of all member species. All were welcome, all were equal. Nicole stood at a window in the new station looking down at Earth. Behind her, representatives from 43 species now worked together. A young aide approached her. "Ambassador, the Valhari have asked to join the cooperative. They have agreed to all terms, including paying for the rebuilding of Caldine and the trial of those responsible for the massacre." Nicole nodded. "Arrange a meeting. Everyone deserves a second chance, even them." The aide left, and Nicole turned back to the window. Humanity had been pushed too far, and their patience had broken. But from that breaking had come a new beginning. Not just for humans, but for all species who wanted a fair and peaceful galaxy. Beyond the window, the stars watched silently. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had seen wars and peace. And now they saw something new. A future built not on fear and power, but on respect and cooperation. It had taken a tragedy to start this change. It had taken humanity's patience finally breaking. But what came after was something that no species in the galaxy would ever forget. The moment when everything changed and a better future became possible for all.